Wow. I mean, wow. I say on here all the time, this is not an agenda driven channel. We spend a lot of time criticizing ESPN, whether we are criticizing on air personalities like Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, or one of our favorites, Bomani Jones. Sometimes we criticize the network itself for promoting the teaching of transgenderism to young children, or for the fact that ESPN is by far the wokest channel on cable television. There are a litany of reasons that many of us have quit watching ESPN altogether, but I have to give credit where credit is due. I have consistently called out ESPN for their lack of real journalism. Earlier today, ESPN proved they can still do investigative journalism when they want to. ESPN just released a blistering report on the NBA's cozy relationship with China. I am rarely shocked, but even I was surprised reading this report. It's a long read. It took me 20-30 minutes to get through it. When I first came across the article, I was going to approach it from the perspective that I was going to find the lies and propaganda, dispute them, and then present it to you. That's how I normally handle things coming out of ESPN. But not this time. They hired Strategy Risk. That is a firm based in New York City that specializes in quantifying corporate America's exposure to China. ESPN hired Strategy Risk to investigate all 40 NBA owners and co-owners to investigate their relationships with the CCP. The majority of this investigation focused on Brooklyn Nets owner Joe Tsai. Now, of course, he declined to be interviewed or declined to even comment on the story. So did Adam Silver and the NBA. That's what these people do when they are exposed. And believe me, ESPN pulled the curtain all the way back on Joe Tsai's relationship with China, how the NBA allowed him to purchase the Nets to further their exposure in China. ESPN even mentioned how they themselves and Disney have a financial stake with the NBA in China. I couldn't fucking believe it. Rarely do we see this type of honesty in the mainstream media, especially at ESPN. They have spent the better part of 3 years covering for the NBA. The NBA is ESPN's primary broadcast partner, primary league, I should say. ESPN's married to the NBA more than any other sport besides maybe college football. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go over every single detail with you. If you want to read the full report, you can find it on ESPN.com. I'm going to go over the important details, but what I really want to talk about is how this proves what we have known all along. Adam Silver is China's bitch, and the NBA is full of hypocrites. It all starts at the top, too. I think, and this is crazy to say, this is just speculation on my part, but I think LeBron James has been used as a mouthpiece in all of this. He has the largest platform of anyone involved with the NBA. LeBron James doesn't have a fucking clue about what's going on in China. He knows that he can't upset them. He knows he has a financial stake over there, but I'm starting to think that they have been using LeBron James to get their message to the masses. That message, of course, is don't fuck with the CCP. The relationship between the NBA and China is simple to define. The Chinese government allows the league to make $5 billion every year in their country in exchange for ignoring human rights violations and promoting Chinese propaganda. Here in the United States, Joe Tsai has donated hundreds of millions of dollars to combat mythical racism and to promote social justice. I am dedicated to ending racism, fighting discrimination, and implementing a system where everyone wins. That is all bullshit. There is something bigger going on here. This is bigger than the NBA. The NBA is just one of the tools being used in this war being fought behind the scenes. China wants to be the world's superpower. Matter of fact, I think they want to take it a step further. Xi Jinping, I think he wants to be king of the world. Now, in order for that to happen, in order to be the boss of bosses, so to speak, you have to take out the reigning boss, the reigning king. When John Gotti took over the Gambinos, he did it through the barrel of a gun. China knows they can't do that. They can't match up with America militarily. So what do? They don't just give up. We can't kick their ass. Let's just quit. They've implemented a strategy to topple America from within. They have bought thousands, maybe even millions of acres of land in the Midwest. They have planted CCP operatives in colleges and universities. They've planted them in the government. They've also planted them in the NBA. Joe Tsai is a strong believer in communism. Don't take my word for it. Listen to his own words or follow the money. He described the Chinese government cracking down on freedom fighters as necessary for economic growth. He defended a law which imprisoned nearly 100 pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong. Joe Tsai said it was necessary to eliminate separatism. That's an interesting choice of words because it shows that Joe Tsai has a collective mentality. The ends justify the means. The good of the collective always outweighs the rights of the individual. That is Communism 101. Recently, Joe Tsai said that most of China's 1.4 billion citizens are happy with their lives. Huh. I guess he hasn't seen the video footage coming out of Shanghai. In case you haven't heard, the citizens of Shanghai have been on another COVID lockdown for weeks now. They're not allowed outside. They're not allowed to leave their fucking apartments. I would say homes, but very few people own a home in China. The government is forcefully removing animals from apartments and beating them to death in the street. If both parents test positive for the Fauci flu, the government removes their children from the household. Where do they go? The hell if I know, no one knows. The few over there who decide to rebel against the lockdown, if they're lucky, they end up in re-education camps. That's if they're lucky. Most are never seen again. They mysteriously fall out of buildings. Some citizens in Shanghai are just jumping out of buildings on their own. They would rather cease to exist than continue living under oppression. I'm talking about real oppression, not the mythical bullshit oppression Joe Tsai is fighting against here in America. Now you tell me, do you think people living in China are fucking happy? Go watch the video and listen to the thousands of people screaming in Shanghai. I would play it for you here, but I think YouTube would take down the video. Now, the one criticism I have of this article, and, I guess I shouldn't say criticism because ESPN, they had to keep the journalistic integrity here. I know that's crazy to say about ESPN, but this was really a true piece of investigative journalism. They didn't come out and say it, but I will. I think Joe Tsai is an operative of the Chinese Communist Party. He is using his money and influence to shift the mentality, or try to shift the mentality here in America, to be more like the mentality in China, which is shut the fuck up and do what you're told. Joe Tsai believes personal freedom should be sacrificed to further the country's economic growth. He attempts to sway people to this narrative by pretending it's for your best interest. He believes living outside of poverty is a basic human right. This is otherwise known as universal income. Everyone has the right to not live in poverty. Okay. Let's travel across the Pacific and see how that policy is working out in China. The average per capita income here in America is nearly $64,000 a year. Average income in China, $10,000 a year. Which system do you want to live under? Last May, Joe Tsai donated $250 million to combat Asian hate in America related to the COVID. Yet he remains silent on the actual Asian hate going on in Shanghai at the hands of the Chinese government. After George Floyd, he donated $50 million to create the Social Justice Fund. What does this fund do? We stand in solidarity with the Black community to end racism in our society. Yet, when it comes to racism in China with the Uyghur Muslims, Joe Tsai has shielded the CCP from criticism, and so has the NBA. Now, I could keep going, pointing out the multiple hypocrisies of Joe Tsai and, by association, the NBA. Both are complicit in the genocide happening in China. Adam Silver and the NBA, they have sold their souls for billions of dollars. Like I said, Joe Tsai was brought into the NBA to increase their reach in China. Now, the NBA finds themselves serving two masters. They have the domestic audience and media here in America and the Chinese government. This has been a problem for years now, but the NBA, they've always been able to rely on the media to cover for them. That's no longer the case. The woke are turning on the woke. Many mainstream media outlets are struggling right now. People are sick of the woke bullshit, and they're damn sure sick of China. We're seeing a mentality shift in the media, at least when it comes to certain areas. They ignore the transgender and sports movement. But when it comes to China, some media outlets aren't afraid anymore to expose the truth, and it's costing the NBA. But let me know what you think. ESPN, fucking ESPN of all places, exposing Joe Tsai in the NBA when it comes to China. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.